everybody, you caught me right in the middle of mixing up some bonsai soil, so what a perfect time to talk about bonsai soil. So anyway, I've had a few guys ask me, what soil mixture do you use, and to be honest, you don't want to know. I'm still working on that, and one thing I've seen in bonsai, there's no right answer, right way to tell somebody what soil to use. There's the environment around them, the tree you're dealing with, and how you water. So I'm just going to show you what I'm using. This isn't like this is what you should use kind of video, because don't ask me. But anyway, I'll show you what I'm using. Okay, now, and this is still a work in progress, but what I have with me now today that I'm trying out, this is the akadama, and I'm using basically 2 cups, and what I'm calling the cup is this thing basically, which is could be anywhere from in here to up here, but basically 2 cups. So I'm 2 of these, probably 1.5 of that. That's a diatomaceous earth, which is Napa floor dry, which a lot of people say you can't use that, don't use that, but I don't recommend using this as either half or more of your mixture, but just like I'm using it here, just over a cup. By the time you're done, it's a smaller percentage. It'll work. Same thing with this. I actually didn't have the grit I usually use. I usually get this grit, basically just a rock that they use like for cactus, and that's where I get my lava too, but I'm out of that, so I went to this is actually play sand out of the kids' sandbox that I sifted through to get to the fine particles out, but I'm going to use some of that. And then this is some river rock I'd bought that you put a whole cup full and you only get about this much of a cup in it, but it'll work. I'm kind of using those 2 together as one to compensate for what and I'm not even sure how they go about getting it, but I buy it up at a local nursery that sells it for their cactus to be used in cactus soil along with like the lava. And then this is a Colorado lava that I picked up used along with the akadama. And I'm only using one of these because I don't like getting too much red in. Now, if you wanted, which this stuff works real good. It holds moisture real well. It's real sharp, helps the roots get, spread out and stay small and everything. But if you're going to use too much of this, I'd probably suggest putting a topsoil over it, because just that red of a soil kind of makes most of my trees anyway. I don't think they look as well. Then I do have a little bit of like a bark material, and I don't even think I had a full cup of that, because by the time you sift through that, you don't end up with a lot. But so as you can see, and that's one thing I do recommend, try to gather up multiple things and use as many different varieties of substrates as you can to form one. I mean, yeah, akadama is probably the best if that's you, but I don't know, maybe straight akadama is the best way to go. But and it tends to hold moisture better than any of these. Maybe lava is real close to it, but I think some trees that you'd have to lessen your watering compared to your other trees if you strictly use that, because that stuff does hold water real well even out in the sun. It's definitely better than any of these other things I've seen. These won't hold any kind of water. They're just kind of in there as a filler for the roots to help with the aeration, not necessarily the moisture retention. That's where this, and even that to a certain extent come into play. And I don't know if you can tell, it's starting to rain here, but I've got the top overhead, thank goodness. But basically when I'm all done with the mixing here, here's what I end up with. And I do use and no, that's another thing I found out today. I don't have a true 1/16 screen. I've got an 1/8, which is a hair too big and it lets too much through. Then I've got this guy, which is, I think, a little too small, but it'll work for this. I'm just mixing up a little batch to get me through until I actually pick up all the rock I'm actually planning on using. I'm going to get a 1/16 screen. That's what I am going to use for the fine. Anything smaller than the 1/16 I'll be putting on in along with my smaller blend for the smaller trees, like the mame style. But this is what I call the duster, and I actually use that to just get the dust out of everything. Then I go through to either this or the 1/8, depending on what size tree I have. And that's where, when I'll mix up some of this, but if I'm going to use like a real little pot, I may even go to this stuff, which is over here, which is a lot finer. But say if I'm using a mid-size, I may even go through this and well, I'll probably use this for mid-size, but let's say if I'm gonna do a big tree, a bigger tree, I may go through here with the 8 and get some of the finer stuff out and use the bigger. But that's just kind of what I'm doing right at the moment. What's Bree doing? Bree can't get in door. But anyway, guys, that's what I'm doing with this soil right now at this time. But you probably ought to get out there and do your own research as far as what soil works for you. Maybe even check with your local, the closest bonsai related, whether it be a person or somebody who works at a nursery that could help you kind of find something that may work for you and what tree you're working on.
Y'all ought to be getting out. Come on.
One more look here. Oh boy.
Girls. Come on.
All right, guys, I know it wasn't a ton of information, but that's what I'm trying right at the moment. Oh, you want more info? Okay, I'm gonna give you one more little thing that I've done. I tried to put a video out on this, but it didn't make it. It didn't make the cutting room floor. But I also will be blending in this Brussels bonsai soil because I still have some left, the Wheat Tree Farms. And I had Hoffman's. And if you don't want to mix your bonsai soil and you're asking me, like, what do I just go buy? I would recommend the Brussels bonsai soil. Now, I haven't used them all, but I have used Brussels, this Wheat Tree Farm, and the Hoffman's. Brussels is probably all around. I do have a few trees planted with it. They seem to be doing fine. It looks a little weird. It looks a little nasty. But take this, now put it in something, some kind of a fine sifter, so you can make out all that dust coming out, you know. At least do that to it. Sift out that finer dust, you know, whether it's just be from shipping stuff grinding together. You don't want to really plan it up with that, but get that stuff out, and this will work. Now, if you're using a real small pot, real small tree, like I've kind of gotten into here in the last several weeks, I don't have a bag of the Hoffman's, I use the last of it, but the Hoffman's I like better. It looks better, it's a little smaller, and it's the same way. Get it, sift through with some kind of a fine mesh. I don't know if you can make, I don't even know what that is. It's something to do with cooking that when I bought all that stuff, it was in there. But just to get the fine dust out, even if you have to, you know, go with a hair smaller, a 16th or a hair smaller, and get that stuff out, you'll lose some, but then plan it up with that, and that'll work pretty good. But anyway, guys, like always, hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be watching for the giveaways. There's a 1,000 subscriber giveaway is the next one. I'll plan something after that. Help me share this channel. Try to, you know, get us growing here as best we can, kind of like we do our bonsai trees. But like always, guys, thanks for watching.